Hey guys, welcome to Project Napalm JL. What I got for you today is we're going to be installing a stubby front bumper with a stinger from E-Auto Grills. A look at it here. So this is where your D-rings are going to mount, and they send it to D-rings on the inside. So we're going to have to take those off, flip them around, put them on the front, because these are your mounting bolts for your frame. Here's the stinger, really good powder coat on it. I'm pretty impressed. Looking at the welds, looks really nice. It's a good looking piece. It's pretty heavy too. I don't know what the stock JL bumper weighs, but I'm sure it's considerably less than this piece. I like the way it looks. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, this is supposed to fit the JK and JL. The only difference being the fog lights are a little bit different. So they send the adapters for the JL fog lights. The JK, according to the instructions, the JK fog lights should fit right in there. So comes with 3/4 inch D-rings and isolators. Nice little feature. All the hardware you need. It's pretty simple. The instructions also comes with a neat little gift, which I haven't figured out what it is yet. It's a USB connection. I plugged it into my laptop and couldn't figure it out. But anyway, it comes with that, so maybe we'll figure out what that is later. Alright. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take the stock bumper off. And we're going to do that by starting right here, pulling these two little tabs up right here and right here. Helps if you have a body tab tool, but a screwdriver works just as well. Flathead. There's one. Alright, so you pull the tab up, you stick your screwdriver in under here, get this pulled up where it's loose, and then really you can just pop it out like that. And save these, hold on to them, don't lose them. And next we have 8 body tabs for your, they call it a skid plate, but it's a piece of plastic, so I wouldn't call it a skid plate. Let's call it an air dam, and they are going to be located right here underneath. I know napalm's pretty dirty. My club was out of Uhari last weekend, and it's been cold, and I don't care anything about getting wet when it's cold outside. There's one, pops out, looks just like that. Okay, so after you get all those tabs out, all 8 of them, you got 2 bolts holding the air dam on. Be one right here, and right here, and on the other side, right there. It'll be 8mm. Let's get those taken out. And 2. Set those aside. And this should just come right off. if you get all the tabs out like you're supposed to. And I thought I had that one completely out, but I didn't. There we go. Now, it should come right off there. Well, there we go. This cross member right here, I'm going to take it off. You don't have to, but you've got 8 bolts holding the bumper to your frame. 2 on the outside and 2 on the inside of each frame rail. And it's just going to make it a little more accessible to get to these inside bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. 16 millimeter. Now this thing mounts. It's got these 2 tabs right here on either end, and they kind of slide back in behind the frame right here. So you kind of got to pop it up and then pull it off. Before you take the bumper off, you have to disconnect the fog lights. So you come over here on the passenger side frame rail, and right here, that's your fog light connection. Okay, and there's only one connection. This is new for the JL, so you unplug this one, it gets both of them, so you don't have to do right side and left side. Okay, so right here at the end, push that in, you can pull the connection out from the other side. And it'll pop out just like that. Alright, now your fog lights are disconnected. I have already loosened the 8 bolts. Okay. 2 on either side of the frame rail. Outside, inside. Okay. And actually I was able to use my cordless impact on all bolts except the top inside on the passenger side. Now a non-Rubicon you probably will be fine, but the automatic sway bar disconnect assembly right here was actually in the way, and I couldn't get the impact all the way up in there even with a swivel on it, so I had to do it the old-fashioned way, ratchet in a socket. Okay, so with your fog lights disconnected and all 8 nuts off the back side, bumper should be ready to come off. Okay, so to access the fog lights on the back side of the bumper, you're going to see it's all covered. Alright, so we're going to have to take all these tabs out on either side to get access to the fog lights, and then the wiring harness too. Let me go ahead and take this off as well, because I think the wiring harness runs up in there anyway. Take your screwdriver. If you look at these tabs, they all have a little indentation right here. If you'll just pop them that up like that with your screwdriver, provided it's not full of mud, these will pop right out pretty easily. we have access to the fog lights, which are right here. Alright, that's disconnected. Okay, so now we're going to take the fog lights out. And on my particular model, I've got 4 7mm bolts holding each fog light in. Now also, looking ahead, the wiring harness for the fog lights goes in behind. Okay, so I got the fog lights out, as you can see. While I was doing that, I got to looking. There's 8 bolts holding this back piece of the bumper in here. Alright. I took all those nuts off, and it looks like I can pull this off. Maybe that'll gain us access to the wiring harness. And no, it still does not gain us access to the wiring harness. Looks like the wiring harness is held into the bumper here, here, no, not there, here, 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 and here. So if I can pop those out, I might be able to pull it all the way through. Okay, so in order to keep from taking the whole bumper apart, what I'm doing is I'm taking these, and I have verified that yes, these are the holding tabs for the wiring harness. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm clipping the ends off with just a pair of wire cutters. It was much easier a second ago before I started recording. And then taking a Torx head driver, just pushing it through like that. Okay, so yeah, your toe points, right, which actually mount your bumper to the frame, take those out just like that. The wiring harness is still connected to these right here. Now they're plastic as well, but they're a little bit more sturdy than those other ones. I don't know if it would be prudent. Well, yeah. Okay. Alright, so let's do the 2 on the other side. We should have it. Okay, yeah, so that's what it boils down to. You're gonna have to undo all those clips, and I couldn't get my needle nose or my wire pliers in here, so I ended up just cutting it from the inside, because it's basically like a zip tie. Cut it loose. Now the wiring harness is free, and I should be able to pull it out the other end. Alright, so as you can see, the wiring harness is coming out. Alright, so that's your fog light wiring harness. A whole lot easier than the JK. So it might be a good idea if you go ahead and cut these clips off right here and right here, because when you're trying to pull them through, they're hanging on everything. But I mean, you can pull them out and just take your time. Don't start yanking on it and break something. So okay, so the stock fog lights, the adapters that they sent basically look exactly like what came on mine. So I test fitted mine on there, and they go right in. Holes line right up. So I'm not going to use the adapters that came with the kit or came with the bumper. Just going to use my stock ones, and of course they sent new hardware, so we're going to have to use these to mount the fog lights to the bumper. Okay, fitting the last or the second fog light in. 2 Phillips head screwdriver, and a 7mm nut on the back side. It's all snug before I tighten them. Now there are no lock washers. Fog lights, they should be fine. The stock ones didn't have lock washers on them or anything, and they really weren't that tight. So I do not see any place to connect the wiring harness up. So I imagine we're going to have to use zip ties, which, if you own a Jeep, zip ties are your very best friend. Alright, so the fog lights are in. Now I'm going to have to do is take the D-rings, loosen these nuts up, take them out, put them on the back side, and run the bolts through. And we should be able to mount the bumper, but I think I probably ought to go ahead and put that stinger on first. So may have accessibility issues. So let me take these off, get them mounted on the front, then we'll mount the stinger. Okay, so the instructions are saying to mount the bumper and then mount the stinger. But if you look right here, those are your mounting holes where your bumper actually mounts to the frame, right here. And if you look here, these are your mounting holes for your stinger. And I'm a bit concerned about being able to have accessibility to the nuts and bolts if we mount the bumper first. So I'm going to mount the stinger first, and we'll see how that goes. So it's pretty straightforward using the hardware provided. 4 bolts on either side. It's not too hard to figure out. So I'm going to get this stinger on here, and then we'll get the bumper mounted. So I got one side of the stinger on tightened. On the other side, it's going to be a 17mm nut, your lock washer on the bottom side, and a number 6 metric Allen head. Might not be a bad idea to use some blue Loctite, but since this is a test fit, I may end up taking this back off because the instructions said to mount the bumper first. But I'm hard-headed, so it wouldn't surprise me. Stinger assembled. Wow. This thing was all pretty when I unboxed it. Got it all muffed up. Anyway, this is how it looks. Now remember, the D-ring plates are going to go on the outside, but the mounting bolts that mount the bumper to the frame have to go through those, so I can't put those on until I'm ready to mount it. And we're going to go ahead and see if this will fit up there right now. Okay, bolts in. Not a whole lot of trouble. Let's see if I can get to all these without having to climb underneath it. And I don't know what I grabbed a wrench for. I know I'm going to need a ratchet that I have a socket for. These are going to be 18 millimeter. Alright, she's on. The EAG Stubby Stinger front bumper for the JK and the JL. It went right on. I'm very happy with it. I've still got to put the D-rings on and run the wires for the fog lights, but that's minor. That shouldn't take just a few minutes. And as you can see, oh, one thing I forgot to mention, this is a cool little feature. So this right here, it bolts on. So there's two nuts on the back side. Take those off. You can paint it to match the color of your Jeep or your color scheme, whatever it is you're going for. So that's something I may look into. And another thing I forgot to mention, it does come with a winch plate, so which I'm not sure. I may have to take this bumper off to put my winch on. We'll see. I'd rather not, but now that I know I can access all the bolts fairly easily. But here's what I was saying. With this back bolt right here for the Stinger, and you can see this is a frame rail right here. Actually, yeah, there's plenty of room. I got my whole hand up there. There's probably a good 2.5 inches between the top of the bumper and the top of the bottom of the bumper and the top of the frame rail. So yeah, you actually could put this bumper on without attaching the Stinger first. Same thing on this side. Yeah, there's plenty of room. But there again, it still might be difficult to access, especially this front one. Nah, it might be a little tough to access that front one, but I mean, I can feel it with my finger. If you got somebody helping you, attach the Stinger first. So much easier. But overall, E-Auto Grills Stinger bumper, well, I'm very happy with it. Very pleased. Instructions were very good. Not everything went as planned, but it doesn't, especially when you have a part that is applicable to two different model types. And although there's not a great difference between the JK and the JL on the front end, sometimes there can be just minor issues, but all the bolt holes lined right up. You know, just slight maneuvering of the bumper, you know, to get it to go through the holes, but awesome. I like the look. I'm digging it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm actually going to have good places to run the because that wiring harness, the stock bumper, is so much wider, right? And so, I mean, you're not going to cut that wiring harness and splice it. So, gonna bunch it up right here in the center, put some zip ties around it, it's up out of the way, it's safe, good to go. So, thanks for tuning in to Project Napalm JL. We'll see you next time. Shout out to all my veteran friends out there, ladies and men. Semper Fi. Check out EA Auto Grills. We're liking it. Keep the shiny side up. Jeep on.